Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. Today we'll discuss the schedule functionality in Autodesk Build. So in a previous edition we talked about the schedule functionality launch and now we're going to explore it more in depth. So the first thing we need to do is go to Autodesk Build, to the Schedule tab and import our schedule. We mentioned that you can import Primavera files, Microsoft project or Asta Power project into the system. So once our schedule is uploaded, we'll get a notification in the system as well as via email. Your inbox should look something like this, and then you can click to view the schedule or directly in the system when you load it. Now, once we're looking at our schedule, we have two different modes we can use, viewing mode and suggesting mode. This depends on the permissions that you have as a user, company, or role. In this case, we'll start with the viewing mode. With viewing mode, which is the basic access for someone in the schedule, you can do different things like filter the schedule view by day, week, month, quarter, or year, depending on what's of interest to you. Moreover, you can also expand or collapse all the activities in the list. You can view the schedule by activity level, for example, level 1, level 2, etc. Besides all these different filters on the information in your schedule, a very important step is to edit the schedule settings. This is where we will control the permissions of which company, roles, or users have access to this specific schedule. We'll do an example of adding the construction manager, and then we'll select the permission level that we want to give access to, in this case, the construction manager. The available permissions are View, Contribute, Update, and Manage. Because the construction manager should have full permissions, we'll give him or her Manage settings, and we'll add a few more members to give you an idea of how this works. Note that all the roles inside this component for schedule come from the ACC database or the Autodesk Construction Cloud. This means that the same roles that you're using for, let's say, controlling folder permissions in Autodesk Docs or issue settings in Autodesk Build are the same roles that will appear here now. Let's add the project manager, and for project manager, we'll give update permissions. This could be the project manager in this case, but it could also be a planner, for example, or whoever is in charge of re-uploading different versions of the schedule. It's a very important role when it comes to the workflow here in the schedule functionality. Let's just add a few more. Foreman, for example, project engineer, and we'll give them less permission, so they should be able to view the schedule, but not necessarily make the changes. Once we've finished setting up all of our roles and permissions, we can manage the schedule access and make it restricted so that only the roles that we added can view or edit the schedule. If we leave the settings in project members, means that it's open for anyone in the project. Later on, we'll see how to use this when having different schedules in the same project. In our settings, we also have the attributes that contain different things like activity floats, which are visible only to certain permission levels, and also other items like dependencies, item, and works. We can simply turn on or off, which the toggle, each of these components. If we go back to the schedule main menu, from here you can upload a new version of the schedule or update it. You can rename the schedule or access the settings, permissions, and attributes where we were just a few seconds ago. If we go inside our schedule, we can explore other configurations to view the information contained in that schedule file. So one of them is the filter, the general filter, where we can search specific contents of the activities based on if it's a milestone, for example, if it's in the critical path, if it's a specific labor resource or status of that activity, or any other information coming from the original file that you can filter on. You can also select if viewing both the list and the Gantt, or only the Gantt chart, or only the list of activities. Personally, I like the mixed view because you get the best of both worlds, and if you need to go in deep in any of the items, you can do that. So there's also look filters. So if you want to do short look aheads of 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior or after the current date, that's possible here. You can also select or deselect certain items from the configure menu, like dependencies or other visual representations of data in the Gantt chart. Similar to this, but for the list of activities, there are the different columns that you can add or remove, like activity ID, dependencies as well, predecessor, successor, dates, any of the relevant items coming from your original schedule file that can be pulled here. You can add as columns for a specific view. Also, you can select a specific activity from your breakdown structure and see those details as well in the right side panel, like the predecessor, successor, the relationship with other activities, dates, and any key information for that specific activity. You can also add activity comments at the end, and then, for example, if we go back to that column configuration and add our activity comment column and refresh our page, we'll be able to see that now this specific activity has one comment. Again, if we select the activity and scroll down in the right side menu, we can see the comment I placed earlier. You can also select the title of your schedule and rename it. For this example, we'll call it Project Schedule. Moreover, something that adds a lot of benefit in Autodesk Construction Cloud is how you connect data from different parts of the system that it's all living in one hub. So this means that you can add references to a specific activity coming from other parts of Autodesk Build, like files, photos, issues, and the rest. Now, what happens if you have different schedules in the same project? You can have different names and allow different access to each of them. So for example, we have our project schedule from before that we already configured, and if we go to the settings and permissions, we'll see that here we already defined a specific set of roles with a specific set of permissions. But let's say that our other schedule in the project, it's open and it doesn't matter if all project members see it. Actually, it's useful for them to be aware of the information in this, let's say, generic or general schedule. Then there is no need to add all the members. If we keep it open for all members to view, they'll be able to access it. So this one, for example, is restricted to only the members that have been added, but the test schedule will be open to all project members. The workflow for suggesting schedule updates starts by selecting the suggesting mode. This should be done by someone with contribute permissions or higher in order to be able to suggest those changes. Let's update the activity percentage complete, for example, to 150%. These edits won't be visible to anyone besides the contributor until the contributor submits those suggestions for review. To do that, we have to click on the icon at the top next to the suggesting mode, and then we can review and submit each of the suggestions or changes we've made. This is useful because what if we made a mistake or we want to remove one of these changes? We can do it here before we actually submit it to the manager for approval. Once we submit it to the manager for approval, the manager will be able to go to the suggestion log. And the suggestion log is going to capture all of those different items that the different roles with contribute permissions are asking to be updated in the schedule. And the manager is going to simply change the status between allowed or mitigated. In this case, let's say these two changes are allowed, and we need to inform the planner or whoever is doing the actual schedule in Primavera or the authoring tool that these updates need to be done. So now the suggested updates will be inside the resolved chart. Now the suggestions are resolved but not updated. The meaning of this is that the planner, whoever is editing the schedule in the authoring tools, needs to go back to that tool, make the edits that were approved, and then re-upload the project schedule to update it as a new version. You can also confirm this point by going to the suggestion log and looking at the info icon next to the status, which indicates that updates are visible when the updated schedule is uploaded. My recommendation is to always refer to the ACC Help or Autodesk Construction Cloud Help, because here you can see the latest updates if there are any changes on how the workflow works or the steps you need to take. In this particular case, if we look at how to suggest the updates and update the schedule itself, you can see certain items step by step and also some video demos. A quick interesting fact is that you can suggest updates for the start date, finish date, duration, remaining duration, and percentage complete at the moment. Remember what we explained previously, that the contributor is going to suggest the updates, the manager will review those updates, and once they are approved, the planner or whoever is uploading the document can update those changes. Now, some of the statuses that are available at the moment are in review, mitigated, and allowed. We saw that example for allowed, and we'll see one for mitigated just now. Again, if we go back to our resolved log, we can see that the allowed suggestions are not yet updated, and they will be updated when the new project schedule is uploaded into the system. Now, for this example, we are going to start suggesting mode again. But now we are going to suggest a change in an activity relating to a delay, cost impact, and root cause. So you could suggest all the changes in one single activity item, like the percentage complete at the others, but in this example, because we already saw how to do the percentage complete, we're going to focus on the delay and cost impact for a specific root cause. Let's say, for example, that there is some human error and some concerns with the safety on the site during the specific activity. So let's just add some notes and add this potential update. Once again, when we finished our potential updates, we can go to review and submit our suggestions. We can see here the comments, the impact. So we'll submit it to the manager again, and the manager in this case needs to take some action, because it's not only reporting that certain activity has a percentage complete. Now what the contributor is saying is that there is a cost impact, potential delay with the problems on site due to safety. So the manager, when coming and reviewing this open suggestion, in this case can change the status to mitigated if certain actions were taken to improve the situation and avoid any delay and potential cost impact on the activity item. Once that is done, the manager will simply mark it as updated, and this will complete the workflow at this stage. Again, this suggested update is going to be living in the resolved log. So now we'll start to have more and more suggestions that have been resolved, and you can filter them later on. It's important to mention that the filter in the suggestion log will apply to both the open and the resolved tables. So anything you want to look for, again, if it's a milestone, if it's critical, specific dates, a specific person who suggested that update, the status, all this relevant information in the menu in the right side, you can filter on. Last but not least, you can also filter the log based on what has already been updated in the schedule. I hope you enjoyed this video and this is useful for your day-to-day operations. See you next time!